So Force Friday 2 has come and gone already. And for those of you who are not horribly, irrevocably, embarrassingly nerdy like I am, what Force Friday is a day in which the absolute tidal wave of merchandise comes out for the next Star Wars movie. That, of course, being The Last Jedi. Now, what comes with all this merchandise is a bit of a leak as far as like story beats and plot points and character motivations and stuff like that go. And up to this point, we've seen a bit of information come out. Some really significant leaks about what's going to be happening in the movie, the type of new technology and ships and walkers and stuff that are going to be appearing. And a lot of people are starting to become worried that this movie is going to be a bit of a retread, following in the footsteps of The Empire Strikes Back, much in the same way that The Force Awakens, believed by many people, was a retread of A New Hope, the original Star Wars movie. My thoughts are, and you may or may not agree with this, that I do kind of want The Last Jedi to follow in the footsteps of The Empire Strikes Back. But maybe not in the way you'd imagine. So as someone who is damn near notoriously known for enjoying a good film debate, I'd have to say the most heated debates I've gotten into regarding The Force Awakens is the idea that it followed way too closely in the footsteps of A New Hope. And while I do have to agree with a lot of the points a lot of people have made, I don't necessarily think it's a complete remake. I don't think it's a total retread. I think the problem is with The Force Awakens is that it had to cover a lot of bases, and it had to succeed in a lot of areas, and it kind of left the film at a bit of a disadvantage. A lot of the same plot points take place. There's a lot of significant character motivations that coincide with the two films. But the thing with The Force Awakens is the fact that it had to kind of reestablish this entire universe for viewers while at the same time making it familiar and comfortable. And if we're being completely honest, after the fiasco that was the Star Wars prequels, this film also kind of felt obligated to win back a lot of goodwill. But the thing about The Last Jedi is, and a lot of these plot points are coming to light now with all the leaks and stuff and all the merchandise coming out, that it's following too closely to, the same steps taken by The Empire Strikes Back. For example, we're learning that Finn, the former stormtrooper in The Force Awakens who defected and joined the Resistance, recovers from his wounds inflicted by Kylo Ren in that movie. And in The Last Jedi, he's still looking for a way out. He's still looking for a way to get away from the entire war, which, kind of coincides with Han Solo's motivations in The Empire Strikes Back, where, he helped Luke blow up the Death Star. He was still with the rebellion at the time they were at Hoth, and he was still looking for a way to jump ship and get himself out of all that and go handle his own personal shit. We're also seeing the introduction of a brand new, gigantic, massive Star Destroyer, much like we saw with, the reveal of Darth Vader's Star Destroyer in Empire Strikes Back, the Executor, or Executor, if you will. We've seen a brand new walker be revealed in official photos and all the new Lego sets and play sets that are coming out. The ATM-6, which I was actually initially very excited about when I first heard the details. I'm personally not one to shy away from spoilers. But the idea was that it was going to be similar to the AT-ATs in Empire Strikes Back, but it was going to be built more like a gorilla. Like the front legs were supposed to be bigger. It was supposed to drag on a little bit. It was supposed to have a bit of like an ape-like gait to it. What I was personally imagining was a big, mech, like a big, huge, fully articulated, fast-moving mech that would just be like a juggernaut, mowing shit down and just crushing everything in its path. And now we've seen it's pretty much just an AT-AT with bigger front legs and what I honestly think is kind of an over-designed, overworked, over-efforted attempt at a head or a face, if you will, that's trying to look as evil as possible. And it kind of looks silly. But anyway, the thing about The Last Jedi and my thoughts on it following in the footsteps of The Empire Strikes Back are as follows. So imagine you're George Lucas in the late 1970s and you've just completed this very quirky, off-the-wall, unconventional sci-fi movie that nobody really thought was going to work. You had actors like Harrison Ford and Alec Guinness on board, and all of them had to say the same thing, that everything was completely cheesy and weird and silly and probably wasn't going to work at all, but at the same time, there was something at the heart of it. Something about it just made it work and made it worthwhile as a project for them to work on. So the movie comes out and it becomes a huge success. More than that, it becomes such a success that the term blockbuster was actually coined for it. Because this movie came out and lines to see it were wrapping around theater buildings. It was just absolute pandemonium. Even a step further, it goes on to change the industry as we know it. So how the hell do you follow that up? I tell you what you wouldn't do. You wouldn't make a quiet, emotional little film that barely resembles the original film, aside from some recognizable cast members and that unbelievable soundtrack by John Williams. You absolutely would be out of your mind if you thought it'd be a good idea to take your hero away from everybody else and put him on a swamp planet where he spends the entire movie discussing philosophy with a little green man. Also, probably not a terribly exciting idea on paper to have the rest of your cast spend the entire movie doing nothing of value besides running for their lives and trying to stay alive. And you sure as shit would not have your hero and your main villain not meet each other until the very end of the second film. And then once you do it, drop a massive fucking plot twist that, if it doesn't land, it doesn't work perfectly, could not only destroy the entire experience of this film, but negate everything that came before it in the first film. But that's exactly what The Empire Strikes Back did. I mean, they nearly ran out of money multiple times. You know, the production was up in the air. Even George Lucas took a look around and couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. It's fucking weird and bizarre that the film was made the way it was. What they made and how they made it, and the film that ended up coming into existence at the end of it, should not exist. And because of that, it's kind of fucking magical. It took everything about the first film and it tilted it on its ear. It just completely threw everything out the window and just they went with something strange and unusual and conflicting and emotional and honestly maybe distancing for some people who thought they were just going to see another retread of A New Hope. It could have very easily been just the most elaborate, incredible, horrifying, cautionary tale of how not to make a sequel in the history of film. There was absolute bravery in telling that story the way they told it. And what seemed like chaos during production actually ended up being a masterstroke in walking that line between completely alienating your audience and challenging the shit out of them. They knew full well that they could have turned off everybody who loved A New Hope, and instead what they created was a film that just ignited people's imaginations. And it's still to this day the movie above all others that has made us absolutely ravenous for anything regarding Star Wars. And that's what I want from The Last Jedi. I want this wild, crazy maverick of a film that throws all convention and safety out the window and puts everything on the line for the sake of making an absolutely, truly great movie. You know, I want something that's completely strange and unusual and somewhat uncomfortable, to be honest, at the same time. I mean, there's nothing comfortable about The Empire Strikes Back. It's scary and it's dark and it's weird and it's mystical. Whereas, you know, The Force Awakens was kind of like that safe blanket that Disney had to put her on her shoulders to let us know that everything was going to be okay. I want The Last Jedi to rip that blanket off our shoulders and say, here's some fucking Star Wars again. Remember how cool Star Wars was when you had no idea what the fuck was going to happen next? Remember when Darth Vader was scary as shit and Luke Skywalker got his hand cut off and you didn't know if Yoda was some senile old man or if he was the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, and you had no idea what the fuck was going on between Princess Leia and Han Solo, if they were going to survive. And when Lando Calrissian started out being a good guy and he turned out to be a turncoat who, gave everybody up to the Empire, that film is so not safe. It's got so many twists and turns and it's such a roller coaster ride and it's so much fucking fun. I don't want The Last Jedi to be safe. It's time to turn this new trilogy on its ear and go fucking crazy with it. Open up that galaxy wide open. Open up all these possible storylines. Just go fucking crazy. And Rian Johnson is the perfect director to do it. I think he's a visionary. I love all of his films. And he makes films where when you see the trailer, you think you know what to expect when you watch these films, and you totally don't. Like Looper is a perfect example of that. It looks like it might just be a conventional action thriller with some time travel thrown in. And he throws you for a loop, no pun intended. Brick was the same way. Like he makes these great movies, and I want him to follow in the footsteps of Irvin Kershner and Lawrence Kasdan and just do something fucking weird, you know? That's what I think people are hungry for in Star Wars. I think that's why the prequels weren't as successful as they could have been, or, in terms of storytelling, because not only were they honestly not very well made or well written or well acted, but we knew what was going to happen. We knew exactly what was going to happen. We knew that Anakin Skywalker was going to be Darth Vader. We knew the Empire was going to be formed and all the Jedi were going to be killed off. There was no tension. And god damn it, Star Wars needs some fucking tension again. It's war. It's war. There's tension in war. You have no idea what's going to go on. It's unpredictable. It's chaotic. It's crazy. It's dramatic. And that's what I want The Last Jedi to be. I hope to shit that Disney has backed off and they've recognized that everything that needed to be established by The Force Awakens has been established, and I hope they realize that it's time to make Star Wars strange, and it's time to go crazy with it again, and make it fun and exciting, and reignite people's imaginations like Empire Strikes Back did 30 some odd years ago. Because this safe, homogenized, well made but homogenized take on Star Wars it's not really going to lead to anything, influential or amazing or something that people are going to look back on 30 or 40 years from now and be in love with it the way I am in love with Empire Strikes Back. I want a new generation of people to fall in love with Star Wars as hard as I fell in love with Star Wars when I saw it for the first time as a kid. So I hope that's what we get. I'm hesitant, but I believe in you, Rian Johnson. So make me feel like I'm 3 years old watching Darth Vader take his helmet off for the first time again and seeing that weird shit on the back of his head. And, I want to see giant fucking space worms come out of asteroids. And I want to look at Boba Fett and say, who the fuck is that guy? Please don't tell me more about him, but who is that guy? Yeah, I guess that about covers it. Thank you, as always, for hanging out with me and drinking a beer and talking about movies. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think your thoughts and expectations for The Last Jedi will be, and if you think we're in store for another safe, predictable retread of a previous movie, or if you think Rian Johnson's got it in him to make something mind-blowing and strange and unique. I look forward to reading the comments because I'm going to comment back, because that's what this is all about. This whole site, this whole project, the second draft, is a conversation. It's you and me and Alex and Paige and my friends and your friends all getting together and having a beer and talking shit about football and movies and shit. So thank you as always, and cheers. And I also wanted to take this opportunity to publicly apologize to the small child and his mother, whom I punched in the face on Force Friday to get my new Luke Skywalker action figure. I'm very sorry. I'm just kidding. I apologize for nothing.